Housing is where one lives and rests. To Singaporeans, housing seen as a reliable investment and asset where there are three main types of housing exist in Singapore, which are private, public-private, and public housing. The most prominent housing type is public housing, which is managed by the Housing and Development Board, also called HDB. Priority to public housing are given to these following groups.
Housing policies in Singapore. There are two objectives of providing the housing policies, which are in terms of community and income security and affordability and quality. So here are the considerations included in housing policies and the housing policies. The first one will be the Housing and Development Board. HDB began offering housing price unit for sale on 99-year leasehold basis under the policies of home ownership for people. Next is the Lee Kuan Yew government, in which this government is to be credited as mainly laying the foundation for the successful economic development of Singapore. The government land acquisitions, no private land owner should benefit from development which had taken at public expenses. Lastly, mobilization of provident fund saving for housing finance. CPF was created for the directed saving based on demand for home ownership towards housing, as it is targeted to provide social security for the working population in Singapore.
Housing in Singapore can be categorized into public housing and private housing. Under public housing, we have HDB flats 2, 3, 4, 5 room. Under private housing, we have condominiums, apartments, as well as a landed housing. For nationality, foreigner can only buy private properties unless you have a Singaporean spouse or family member. Foreigner cannot buy HDB flats. Singapore permanent resident can buy private properties and resell HDB flats. And the most important thing, all Singaporeans are entitled to buy everything. Amenities. For the amenities, private housing resident can have access to the facility such as gyms and swimming pool. This draws some home buyers who value club-like facility at their doorstep. It also unique as they typically have a security guard and non-resident cannot enter without a valid reason. But for public housing, they share their amenities with everyone. Last but not least, maintenance. A private housing, especially condos, monthly maintenance charges can be expensive, especially if you don't fully utilize those amenities. This compared with lower service and conservancy charges of less than $100 for public housing like HDB flats. For landed property, it depends on whether you hire someone to clean your house or do it yourself.
For the development of housing in Singapore, majority of public housing in Singapore are from the redevelopment project. There are two towns that are being highlighted here, which are Queenstown and Tua Payoh. Queenstown was rejuvenated in the form of selective en bloc redevelopment scheme, while Tua Payoh is rejuvenated with better facilities. There are another 20 new towns such as Jurong West and Woodlands. Demand and supply of housing in Singapore. There are few demands in deciding the housing that is needed for people, which are demand for smaller size units of housing, increasing demands of affordable housing, and demands in provision of environmental sustainability housing, while the supply of housing, HDB, look at the whole spectrum of needs for the resident. The supplies are providing affordable quality homes, ensuring vibrant towns, focusing on the community, quota settlements to home ownership, and the last one is pricing of the housing in Singapore.
Some of the main issues and challenges in Singapore housing is the aging population of Singaporeans. Singapore is one of the fastest aging countries in the world, with an estimation of 1 million Singaporeans aging 60 and above by 2030. Second challenge of housing for Singaporeans is building houses for the future. Population is estimated to rise to 5.5 million. With a reduction of household size, some new houses will have to come from a building that is more in density and very high rise, as well as building them with close access to mass rapid transit system. That on top of the ever-constraining of land availability on the island. Lastly is the challenges of keeping the harmony of the society. Since Singapore is a very well diverse in racial and religious country, keeping a healthy society needs to start from the environment that they are living. Thus, HDB or the Housing and Development Board of Singapore needs to take this issue very seriously.